when I really try to nail it down, you know what I mean? What is this? Then I feel like I kind of strangle it too much. And then it's like, oh, nope, it's a butterfly. You hold it. You don't crush it.
This is Champagne is Also a Band podcast. One songwriter, one song. I'm Sven, your host for a journey into the music of Champaign-Urbana. Recorded in the Blue Box studio with a songwriter from the Champaign-Urbana music scene, past or present. Champagne is Also a Band podcast is proud to be a part of the Champagne Showers Podcast Network. Welcome to Champagne is Also a Band podcast. Today, I have Patrick Murphy and Noah Scott Larson from the band Castle Finn. But you may also know Patrick from such bands as Terrain and Hockey and Them. Also, you may know Noah from the band Booth Blues. So, Patrick and Noah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so very much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Today we're going to be listening to your song, Velvet Fangs, off of the EP On the Vine. So without further ado, let's listen to the song.
So blue in your bedroom, you're toying with my heart. That's what you love to do. There's never an escape. Oh, when you need one, you come down on my hand when it's in the honey pot. As they sink down into the right place. The floor disappears, and I'm falling with you. Only thing left to hold on to is your love, a full string of hope. I swear that this love's such a wildcat. Every loose thread's gonna get attacked. There's gonna be a scene when you crave what you do. Any little thing just to sink your teeth into. There's never an escape. Oh, when you need one, you come down on my hand when it's in the honey pot. Now I'm stuck here with you, and your velvet fangs as they sink down into the right place.
Welcome back. So I guess this is a question for both of you. My first and favorite question to always ask is, what came first? Was it the music or was it the lyrics?
You remember how we wrote this one? You remember this one? Do you remember how this one began?
Barely.
Okay.
Kind of.
Okay.
I feel like we did music first. Here.
Yeah.
We kind of
This
jammed
was
this
music
one
first. Yeah, we jammed this one.
into existence
Yeah.
as a group.
This was a fun creation. Yeah, it was very much music first. We jammed. We had a really kind of a productive little jam session one day at Justin's house, the bass player in the basement. We knew it was going to be a jam session, and we kind of, if you guys have anything you want to bring to the table, let's kind of like try it today. I think this one in particular, I had a little guitar thing. Just really simple. Just that little guitar intro. You hear that?
Is that G, D, B flat?
It's the verse chorus. Or
Yeah,
sorry, it's the
G
verse
to
chords.
the B flat
Yeah.
situation. Yeah, I think
Thank
was
you.
the first thing that
Thank
came
you.
up there.
Yeah. And that's just, how it started. And then we kind of jammed it and we were like, okay. And then I think you had some suggestions on where to take it with the chorus, the chorus chords. And then we kind of created a fun chorus, a weird, I don't know.
Strangely melodic.
a very
Yeah.
strange, it's not a normal chorus. If you listen to it, these aren't like normal chords you would normally choose. That's where we took it from there.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to, but
Yeah.
in what way do you feel that they're not normal chords?
What was it? What are the chords there?
So let's clarify first. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that whole thing where I just bait and switched, but
Yeah.
I just want to be clear that the 4-line, 1,000 dreaming miles of how far I've come, that's verse 1.
Yeah, that's
right?
verse 1.
And then starting with, I thought of this as kind of a pre-chorus, but there's never an escape when you need one.
That is
It's
kind of a pre-chorus, I
and
guess,
then
yeah.
the oohs are like the transition to finally go into the chorus.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I could see that.
Okay.
Yeah. We didn't really delineate it much.
Yeah, no, not really.
Well, you do
Yeah.
feel like it clicks into these 3
Yeah.
keys. Isn't the right, because I feel like you still hover around that B flat G minor.
Yeah.
And then it kind of does a few borrowed chords where it's a little bit more. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
kind of borrowed chords.
Yeah.
And that came from the vocal. So we had the really kind of the structure. We had the chords for the verse and let's just say the chorus, or the pre-chorus to the chorus, but not all the way. And then I started to write the lyrics to it, and I began modifying that. With that borrowed chord comes from that. There's never an escape. Needing to kind of stretch it a little bit, or kind of it's reaching for something. And I think that chord there kind of that's what it became.
I failed to find out what that chord is. It like, do you just bring in an E flat or something?
Goes to E minor. E minor to E flat
okay,
major
okay,
7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once we kind of came to the set of chords that ended up being there in the pre-chorus separately from having a melody and not really in that rhythm.
Okay.
So when Patrick did come in and add the lyrics, we had gotten the chords together that we wanted for the pre-chorus into the chorus. But after Patrick came back with more of a melody figure, the lyrics, we were able to kind of fit those around the chords we'd come up with, change the timing around, and make it into, more of an 8-bar phrase.
Let's describe a little bit when someone brings for a writing session what turns into kind of a jam session, but somehow solidifies itself into a song. Is it bringing chords usually, or do you have something on the keyboard, or does the bassist come in with something?
It's pretty new. We've only really had one creation session that was productive.
Yeah, I think so.
We got Velvet Fangs out of it. We got another song that we haven't released yet. It's our newest one, You Come Through, that just we're really, really excited about.
But you played that at the Phenom show.
We did play that for the first time at the Phenom show. So we got that song. So it just depends. Up until that point, it was, most of my little baby songs.
Right.
Ideas that I had it mostly created. As far as the structure, chords, lyrics, and then, Noah coming in on the keys, doing the keys parts. I think on Deep Blue Wilderness, you did the guitar on there too. He's kind of our Swiss Army. He's our Swiss Army Noah.
Yeah.
That's what I call him, because he can play.
I'll
He
take
can
it.
play pretty much any of the instruments that we have in the band. For example, he played guitar on Deep Blue Wilderness.
Yeah.
And Justin did his bass part. I had actually written a bass part before that. I was like, hey, give that a try. And then we just kind of voted, which one do you guys want? And it was kind of clear that Justin's bass part was much better. It's really good. Listen to Deep Blue Wilderness. I love his bass part.
He came to a cool melody figure, even in the bass, to
Yeah.
counteract what you were doing with
Right.
vocals, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
It is interesting, though, the thought of, I mean, there's no wrong way to do this, but sometimes the composer themselves will bring in something and they'll say, like, well, this is what I see the bass line being. This is kind of what I'm picturing with the drums. This is what I already have on the guitar or with my vocals, etc. And I find it kind of fascinating when it's this, you give it only as a structure and not as a directive, where it's just anticipating that this chord, this chord, this chord, this chord will be in the verse. Now figure out something. And I feel like that openness allows the individuals of each of the instruments to kind of lend themselves to the song more. Sometimes people do need to have something to get them going, but I think that when the individuals in a band can bring something new to it that you may not have anticipated.
One thing, when I sent this to Justin to do a bass part on Deep Blue Wilderness, for example, I sent it without any bass. He had not heard the other bass line. And that was purposeful, so
Right.
that he could have the openness to create his own thing. So that worked out very nicely. We try to do that. So that it's like, hey, you're not going to hear mine. So, we'll just see where it goes. And then we'll just decide what we like the best.
And the same thing on Velvet Fangs. If my memory serves me correctly, we jammed it for a while, just those
Yeah.
first, the verse chords.
Right.
And kind of found something for each of us to contribute in that. And then once we kind of had that, we were like, all right, well, where are we going to go now?
Yeah.
What are we going to make happen?
Yeah.
And did this particular recording, did this have the configuration that you have now, where it's a bass, keys, drums, 2 guitars, vocals?
Everything but Tyler wasn't with us at that time.
Ah.
Tyler hadn't joined the band quite at that time, I don't think.
Not quite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was right after that.
When you play this live, if you play this live, I'm kind of trying to remember if you had, how do you incorporate a second guitar, or is it?
Well, when in the recording studio, there's lots of guitars.
We overdubbed.
Sure.
We overdubbed.
We overdubbed like crazy.
And we don't record it live up until, nothing's been recorded everyone together live. It's all been, part by part.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to do that. And that's simply because we've been in different studios. I finally have a house with a studio. So now we could do that.
And we're planning to.
Yeah. Yes, and we're planning
least.
to.
Getting back to this song, when did you incorporate lyrics, or when did a concept of what you wanted this song to be about kind of enter into the picture?
Yeah, so I guess it was something that was obviously present in me. We had the form, and it felt like it has that pushing and pulling. What is that? Ebb and flow, or
Yeah.
what
Sure.
is that term in music? Release.
Expansion, contraction?
Yeah.
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 I think that's about right.
And it's
Wait.
It feels like it
augmentation,
has
diminution?
Sure. It feels like it has this desire, this pulling, and that's what I decided to write the lyrics about. The desire ended up, Velvet Fangs being, it's a very desirous song. It's kind of carnivorous. It has teeth, It's
But they're velvet.
They're velvet. There's a sweetness to it. It's really about kind of struggling, trying to establish a relationship with someone, and you have certain connections, but not it's pretty fiery and hot.
Sure.
But maybe not. It's not got those cooling factors that you kind of need in a relationship. It's not like a long burn, a slow burn. It's just kind of a flash.
Interesting.
And it can be kind of scary sometimes when it's, super hot like that. So that's kind of what this song is about.
I picked up on the tones of a difficult relationship that was
Yeah.
maybe not always 100% reciprocal.
Yeah,
Where
that too.
someone might give something emotionally to the relationship, but then not have it be returned, or put something physical into the relationship and not have that returned, but a little bit of maybe even some like manipulation.
Yes, yes.
I didn't want it to be I guess what I always have to ask myself is, the writer of the words, whose perspective are they writing it from? Even if it uses the phrase "I've come" or "my hand," it doesn't necessarily. There's some traditions of writing it from the opposite perspective in order to.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know, just as kind of like folk music will do that sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, in this one, I didn't really care to decide that. I just kind of let it do. I kind of try to get out of the way of, if I can, I try to get out of the way of like what's being created, and I just try to be like, okay, what does it want? What is this song? So I know that might be a strange thing to say, but it's just the perspective, I think, is kind of both here.
I mean, especially with lyrics, I feel like sometimes there's a sense of creating too much of a concrete direction, maybe, or imagery that is too concrete.
That can kill it for me. When I really try to nail it down, you know what I mean? What is this? Then I feel like I kind of strangle it too much. And then it's like, oh, nope, it's a butterfly. You hold it. You don't crush it. You don't put,
You can put flowers.
you gotta like have the honey there. So it keeps coming back,
Right.
and you just try to feed it.
I'm just curious, like, what was the thought that tipped it into this area in terms of it being about a relationship? I know that a lot of songs deal with difficult love or just having a poor relationship or just trying to sort things out in a relationship. I feel like I just covered everything, but I'm always curious about what is that like tipping point where you just realize that it heads in a certain direction. So like, did you write the verses first, or did something come out in the chorus, or it's always like,
Yeah, it
sometimes
started with a verse.
Oh, it did.
It started with that 1,000 dreaming miles, how far I've come. And then kind of threaded it from there. I think I literally wrote it from that part to the chorus to the next verse, I think.
It's a catchy earworm too. It works.
So you wrote those first 4 lines of the verse. Was it clear in your mind at that point that that's where you were going to head with it, or?
No, it's never clear.
Oh, okay.
It's such an interesting, it's like that door that you have right there. You have all these possibilities, right? And
Patrick's referring to the door to the studio that is just covered with stickers of everywhere, that if I've ever gotten anything, I've just stuck it on that door.
I mean, yeah. Personally, for me, I'm super ADD, and I just there's so many options. So really, it's about finding the mood and just going with it, and just what feels good when I sing it, and then getting away from it. Probably going for a walk or a run, even though I'm completely obsessed with the song because I'm inundated in the songwriting process. But I've hit a wall. I've hit that wall, with all the stickers on it. I'm like, okay, hang on. I need to just get out of here, get out of this room, and I need to go for a walk or something. And then it comes clear. It's like the chords are in my mind. It's very clear. And then the idea just comes to me. It just comes to my brain,
Yeah.
So that's what I try to really do. That's when I know it's working. That's when it's its own little critter now. It's the butterfly, is there. And it's like, I just try to continue that energy, fostering that mood.
Would you say most of the song had been kind of fleshed out already by that point? I'm just curious, the Legoing of this together.
It was still liquid, Like it could change. At that point, we could still add like a bridge or something if we wanted to. We never did feel the need to, because there's so much movement in the song from verse to chorus, verse, pre-chorus to chorus, and then the instrumentals as well.
Well, and I feel like that's maybe you take instrumental bridges in some ways because you get to
Yeah.
kind of float off
Yeah.
in kind of the direction where it takes you. I'm curious about the interaction between, well, I'm thinking of that, like after the first chorus and going into the second verse, there's that instrumental.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, do you both sit down and say, this is the line that I'm playing, please do it on the guitar or guitar on the piano? Because you're doubling up, and then sometimes you deviate and come back together, and then so I'm curious about that conversation, or is that something that just you've done it like 10 times and then all of a sudden you both kind of land on a riff or a melodic line that you're just like, okay, we'll just do that.
Yeah.
I'm curious about how that lands in terms of the writing process.
Sure. That particular instrumental section was Patrick's to start with. All guitar, just harmonizing guitars. He had layered them on top of itself, and I got in to listen to them, and I thought it was awesome. But I wanted something a little extra in there. And we just played around with sounds, both, through the computer, through our synthesizer, and found a couple things to just go in there and beef it up a little bit. And I really like how it turned out. I think it's a fun.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think it's
I think we took out one of the guitars.
Anthemic. Oh, is that really?
Well, we didn't take it out all the way, but we lowered the volume on one of the guitars a lot.
Sure.
And then brought in the wired lead,
Yep.
which we love. I call it the
VHS.
electric noodle.
The electric noodle, yes. Which is present throughout the song.
Yeah.
In a lot of those.
It's the intro synth lead and
so that's actually right, but that's a reference to the actual melodic line and not a particular type of instrument, or that you're
the electric noodle, or
right.
Like you're not like I thought for some reason somebody was going to be the electric noodle is like some kind of melodica or something, like because it's got the noodle. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Better grab the electric noodle.
Yeah.
But but yeah, that line, and then I actually really enjoy some of the, I guess, pitch bends, and I'm going to say modular. No, is that no mod? It basically creates the vibrato.
Yeah. The modulation. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes,
the mod wheel.
Yes, the mod. Sometimes keyboards can be flat and then dependent on the synth sounds that they create. But then when you add certain elements of the pitch bend, it kind of makes up for what it lacks in comparison to the guitar. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
because it's this, I guess, tempered instrument where it's right on the pitch, but then when you're able to bend up to notes, or it gives it this fluidity. I can't say a lot of keyboardists are able to pull that off, and I don't know. I admire the way that you're able to incorporate a line with as much movement as you do.
Thank you. Yeah,
because I did think that was remarkable, and honestly, it came through a lot more watching y'all play in a performance. You may be more enthusiastic with your slides or something, but it had more. It definitely had more life to it. But
willing to take more risks.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think, on stage compared to putting it down on tape.
One of the things is you launch directly into a vocal line with harmony over the top, and that's kind of a distinctive sound of Castle Fin. But I'm curious about how that gets brought in, and like, is that something that I noticed that in the live performance you were also doing backup vocals as well. I kind of hesitate to call them backup vocals, but you were doing harmonies to the main melodic vocal verse line.
Right. Yes.
And I'm curious about how that comes about. How does that happen in the writing process?
We love harmony.
Oh, yeah.
We love vocal harmonies. We look for excuses to get to sing together. Mm-hmm. That's what it's all about. I think there's something, few things are as humanly satisfying as singing with another human. Like, sure. or a room of humans. Like, that's why church is kind of cool, I think. Yeah, when, if the song's any good, like, I'm not like, not like proponent of any religion in any way, but I just like singing with people, and that's kind of what we like to do.
Oh, yeah.
In the band, for sure.
I think they come through your brain first.
Yeah, usually.
They're definitely, I'm just trying to faithfully recreate as one other voice what has been expertly placed in the track.
Are you thinking in terms of pitches, or are you thinking in terms of like following? I don't know. There's always that approach where it's like, you know what the line is and you kind of want to sing over it in a way that just kind of falls into place, or you're like, okay, the chord that's being played under this is going to be a D minor, so he's singing a D, so I'm going to sing an F in there, and then
Right.
I wish it were that. I wish my brain, because I created that harmony line or whatever. I wish I could think like Noah and pick it apart and like be able to like know what notes I'm playing. I'm all ear. I'm very much an ear feeling inspired. That's where it all comes from. I didn't do music school, unfortunately. And so it's very much ear by ear.
I love geeking out about music theory and thinking about like, well, why does this sound the way that it does? Because it interacts with these notes, etc. But it's funny, it's like the few times that I have two guests on the show talking about writing a song together, there's invariably, it always seems like there's one person that does not think about music theory, and then there's another person that completely thinks about music theory, and it's like this feel versus intellectual, and I kind of love I love that. So Noah, when you hear the chords being brought in that jam session and the initial part, sorry to back up a little bit, but I'm just curious about how are you thinking about what your role or even your interaction with the song is going to be based upon your instrument, or I'm just curious about how that gets blended into these few chords that Patrick had brought, and then how do you expand on it? Do you remember that?
I'm a percussionist as well, and of course I try to treat the piano, the electric piano in this case, as another percussion instrument. I try to fit rhythmically where the other instruments aren't, and melodically as well, also where they're not. Trying to find the chord tones that will fit in the scale I'm trying to work in, but that nobody else is trying to play. So a lot of ninths in this tune, all over the place.
Some might say some seconds as well.
Some seconds, of course.
Sorry, I just
theory geeking.
Oh, I love it. I'll do it all day.
Yeah. You can't just think about things in terms of those standard chords in order to really have the kind of sound that you do. Kind of an expansion, and I want to say that there's that funky element, and I can't necessarily figure out, but I think that it's the way that the chords are put together. And anyway, forget I started saying that.
That was also a goal of mine too, to kind of bring a little bit of danceability and a little funk in there.
Now I'm going to tell you what my favorite part of the song is, and then so if you'll both like think about your favorite part of the song, just keep that in your noodles. I actually really enjoyed the transition, and I'm going to cheat and do two, but I really enjoy the transition between the pre-chorus and the chorus of the oohs. I think part of it is just because I feel like that ooh is representative of kind of this relationship where you're like, okay, where is it going? What key is this going to land in? And how is it going to change? It sets up the whole premise of like, okay, now we're gonna modulate. We're gonna go all to these different keys, or at least your brain thinks it's going to do that. It turns a little bit, but then in the end, the kind of trick or metaphor that kind of happens is it all kind of falls back to the same when it lands back to that second chorus, right? So you're just like, oh, more of the same. Not in a not in a derogatory way towards the music. I was just saying that it's a return and kind of not a progression. It's back to what we started out with. Right. So we're stuck. And there's just something about that that's kind of throws you a little bit off balance, which I think just fits perfectly with the floor disappears and I'm falling with you, right? So you're already kind of setting up the word painting with this journey. But I will have to say that my second favorite part is definitely that solo that starts off with the motif that you set up with the ascending kind of bass line going up that's also doubled with the keyboard. And then it enters into that organ solo and guitar solo join together and kind of having their own conversation. Where do they deviate? And it's just, in my brain, I hear just one guitar and one keyboard. And so it does have that whole like, well, we're kind of going along together and doing the same things, but at some point we divide and kind of do our own thing. And then it's, again, a metaphor for like a relationship and kind of sometimes you celebrate the differences that you do together and sometimes that tears everything apart. So you don't know where it's going to go. So I'm just curious, with all that in mind, Noah, what's your favorite part of the song?
I enjoy that second verse. Kind of has a late start to it. And then it kind of shifts in the keyboards as well. It goes more to this. We found a backwards reverbed piano to throw in there, just really high up to give it a little extra something for that bit. I really enjoyed that. Going into the alternate ending to that verse with the I Could Never Be willingly released bit, which is a whole new vocal bit right before that second pre-chorus.
Yeah.
Throws down, and I like that section a lot. I think there's a lot of good musical variation. There's a lot of good variation between those sections, and then bringing it back to something we've heard already that's familiar.
Yeah, I think that also kind of encapsulates the soul of the song as well. I may never be willingly released. That's kind of the synopsis of the song.
Yeah.
I feel like if you were to take one phrase from that song to describe it, it would be that one. Yeah, it's a vocal harmony.
Yeah.
It's a distant, backed off vocal harmony.
Yeah.
That's kind of sung at the top of our lungs.
Quite a distance from the mic.
Yeah.
That kind of trick.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Love that. All right. So, Patrick, what is your favorite part of the song?
Kind of to echo what Noah said, I really enjoy singing and playing this live is that transition from the verse to the chorus where there's never an escape. What does it hit that E? Or E
we
F?
get on that E minor.
Yeah, that E minor
7.
And it really kind of stretches the song. And it's like, oh, there's a little bit of struggle happening.
And even more by the fact that the melody lands on the 7th.
Right.
7th of the chord.
It gives
right
it that like kind of that twang.
A little
or whatever.
clash.
Yeah, a little clash.
in it.
Yeah. Kind of that clash that's like, oh, there's some struggle happening. And then by the end of the chorus, you know there's a struggle. There's kind of a big struggle happening, but that's the beginning of that. And that's just so fun. I think with the drums and everything kind of cutting out and then the fill and then everybody landing in on the never an escape.
Right.
That's so satisfying to sing and play together.
So why did you pick this song to be the song you wanted to talk about today?
It's because we collaborated on this one quite a bit. Of all the songs that we have out, this is the song that we collaborated most on.
Yeah,
that's why we wanted to talk about this one. It's a kind of a new era for Castle Finn with a lot more collaboration from everybody in the band. And honestly, especially Noah with production. Noah's getting a lot more involved in production and has a lot of great ideas. Again, like I said, he's our Swiss Army Noah. So he's kind of taking a larger
I'm stealing that, by the way.
responsibility. Yeah.
I'm stealing it for my solo project.
Good. Yeah, Swiss Army Noah. There we go. But yeah, so it's a very exciting time in Castle Finn, and there's just the songwriting process has very much changed, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I remember initially you were playing an acoustic, and now you've gone to the hollow body electric. Is that right?
Yeah, I've got a couple guitars.
Oh, okay.
One of them's a semi-hollow body. Okay. Actually, I got two semi-hollow bodies, and then I've got a Strat. But I tend to play the Strat with Terrain and Standard, and then the semi-hollow body with Castle Finn and full step down because it helps my vocal range. It helps me to be in the pocket there. Yeah, that's why we chose. How about you, Noah?
Yeah, I think of the tunes on this EP, which I feel are all very solid, this one being the most collaborative definitely helps. This one, I think, Chasing My Bets too, we kind of came to in a similar fashion, but with fewer of the other members of the band. Mm-hmm. But that we had kind of come to the melodic decisions, and you'd come to the lyrical and singing melodic decisions. Mm-hmm. Just working off each other. Excellent. There really helped.
Champagne is Also a Band podcast is proud to support Jubilee Cafe. Jubilee Cafe is a free weekly meal program at Community United Church of Christ, 805 South 6th Street in Champaign, Illinois. Jubilee Cafe serves a home-cooked meal from 5 to 6:30 each Monday. Their mission is to feed hungry people by cooking healthy, delicious meals and by serving their guests restaurant-style with servers waiting on tables. Jubilee Cafe is open to anyone who cares to eat with them. Because food insecurity among students is so high, they serve students as well as others in and around the Champaign-Urbana community who struggle with hunger. Meals are free to all and will be served each Monday evening, located in the accessible lower level of the building at 6th and Daniel Streets in Champaign. For more information on the meal or how to volunteer, go to the Jubilee Cafe CUCC Facebook page or email them at jubilee.cafe@community-ucc.org. That's jubilee.cafe@community-ucc.org. Welcome back. So, of course, Noah, what is your favorite Champaign-Urbana venue, past or present?
I have always enjoyed playing the Rose Bowl. I think it's one of those places that's so ingrained in the community that people will just go there. They'll end up there for a night of undoubtedly great music. It's a wonderful little spot that can fit more people than you'd imagine. And it's really fun when you get a full house in there, almost moving it. And then when they've transitioned in the summer to going outside, that's always one of the most fun places. We had a live little EP that we ended up getting the audio from their soundboard, and we were having a great time.
Yeah,
we could tell the audience was having a great time.
Yeah.
Excellent. I think that's got to be my number one.
That. That's on Spotify. We released a lot of those songs.
Yeah,
I think I announced that one too from it's on Bandcamp.
It's on Bandcamp.
Yes.
Yeah.
So of course, Patrick, what's your favorite Champaign-Urbana venue, past or present?
That is a tough question. Okay. If I had to choose one.
You don't have to choose one. Is that unfair that I didn't tell you that you could choose many? I guess favorite in my mind, I can never pick one, so I just pick a bunch.
Okay. Yeah.
But,
I'm going to pick two.
Okay.
One being Outside Friday Night Live is just a great time. We've always really enjoyed that. We get to turn our amps up like all the way. And for some reason, when you got your amp up all the way and it's filling the streets, you just play better. It just sounds good to you. Like you feel your amp, you can hear it bouncing up against the buildings.
Yeah.
And the people are loving it. People are out. The weather's good usually. Summertime. Can't beat that. But I really enjoy playing at Gallery Art Bar. It's kind of like my people, and I just feel very akin to that place. And like, especially outside too, they've got that outdoor spot. I love playing out there too.
The tough question of this section is coming up, and that's Noah. What do you think makes a good music scene?
I think it's good people. I think mainly it's where you always want to have, good people around supporting, good people in the bands, people out there to have fun. I really think you just want to start with that mentality going into any situation, just, not worried about how drunk the crowd's going to get or possibly chirping, but just starting out, just being like, hey, we know you're having a good time. We want to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody be kind, tip your bartenders, enjoy the music.
So, Patrick, what do you think makes a good music scene?
So, I'm obviously partial, but I think that original music, people creating new exciting things and not trying to sound the same or sound like someone else. And as much as I like a good cover band, it's just I really appreciate people singing their hearts, whatever that be. And that I got it. And that's got to be part of a good music scene in my mind. That, and then not scared to push the bar a little bit and be weird and be your weird self and let your freak flag fly and let it come through in your music. Another part's the audience, the people who are consuming the music, listening, coming and dancing. That's such a huge part of the Urbana and Champaign scene. I think that's really important.
Well, and I think that definitely loops in with what Noah was saying, good people, that goes for genuine people that want to foster a good music scene, both as either a musician performing or an audience member. And, that's one of those things where being able to, I guess, have an audience that's willing to hear out somebody that may be new on the scene, because really everybody, there's probably a very small percentage of people that have been able to just hop up on stage and be amazing.
Yeah.
Also speaking from experience, most people will never get past having trouble performing well unless they have more opportunities to keep trying and have those venues that are willing to give them a shot. Even if that means that they're just opening for, a band and only play for a few minutes, but it has to be, let's add that third element. It has to be venues that are willing to be risky in that way. And
that's one thing we didn't say. That's you're hitting it right there.
Oh yeah.
It's the triangle,
That is. It's very much like a a three. It's like a 3-step stool. Without one of those, it's going to be hard standing or sitting.
What do you think Champaign-Urbana could do better?
More people go out to music, support, just like try to make it more part of your daily thing. It's healthy. It's a healthy thing to be consuming and doing. Usually, maybe don't drink too much if that's what you do there, but you don't have to do that there. There's other options. But dancing, taking in art is an important aspect, and I think it'd be good for everyone if people came out more often. Right. Yeah.
And I guess in some ways, too, I want to add, it is great to support people by going out and seeing shows and being an audience member, but it also is important to maybe even seek out online local music to listen to and share that, or at least learn about other bands that exist, because honestly there's a reason.
Celebrate that. Share it with people.
And honestly there's a reason I use that hashtag of like music where you live, because it's like doesn't have to go that far, and there's not an overabundance, but there is an abundance of new, fresh, amazing music that is happening every day. It's very easy to just kind of let that go by and not know that it happened.
I love that.
So keep an eye out, I guess, is just something that pops into my head when you were saying that, because like sometimes people aren't able to make it out to shows, and so find your way to hear and experience the music scene, because it's out there. And anyway, that wasn't a like
100%,
because I agree. Go out to the shows, but also don't. If you for any reason don't feel like you can go out to the shows, please, there's many ways to hear, support, and learn about like the local music scene. So I guess, just
100%.
This is a thought. So
I will just add that Bandcamp is a fantastic place to consume your music. And if anybody is posting Bandcamp links, that's one of the greatest ways to support an artist directly.
Champaign is Also a Band podcast is proud to support Exile on Main Street. Exile on Main Street, located in the old train station building at 100 North Chestnut Street in downtown Champaign, has been helping to build record collections since 2004. Carrying a wide array of new and used LPs, CDs, and video games. Exile on Main Street has something for just about any music enthusiast and old-school gaming devotee. Exile also hosts regular free live music shows on its stage, so be sure to check out their Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages for the up-to-date details on the next upcoming event. Open 7 days a week. They can be reached by phone at 217-398-MAIN. That's 217-398-6246. Welcome back. So, Patrick, what is your favorite non-musical thing or things?
I would have to choose. I mean, can I just say outside time?
Yeah.
I like outside time. I've been biking to work and
Nice.
to and
Nice.
fro. As long as I can, I do it, even in the snow and when it's really cold. I just gear up, and I just noticed that really helps my mood. I just like being outside. And I got a canoe. I like canoeing. That's another one of my favorite things, non-musical things, canoeing.
Where do you go to canoe?
Oh, just anywhere. I like to Homer Lake. That's close to my place, so it's probably the closest cool, explorable little
Sure.
lake. And then Kickapoo's great. I want to do some more river canoeing, or small rivers. But I just like being on water. I become a different animal on the water, and I like that animal. I have a good time on the water.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't know if it's like the fresh air or being surrounded by things that are living, maybe. I don't
yeah,
know.
yes. Turtles, fish, frogs,
Trees.
trees.
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, and
Colors.
Yeah, there's definitely something very grounding about being able to be out in the world and like things that flow and move and aren't stagnant. And, like forced air, like as in the studio, right? So okay, I'm looking around even in here. I'm like, what things in here are living other than ourselves, right? So just like as soon as I step outside, I'm like, even the dirt itself, hopefully some dirt doesn't, but most dirt has living things in it. So
we call that soil.
Soil.
Living soils. Yeah.
I see. And by we, you mean?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It's sustainability. Like I went to sustainability school, and dirt is like what they plow, and it ends up becoming a sterile, dead zone. Whereas soil is where the microbes exist, and there's worms in it, and there's bugs in it.
Sure. So Noah, what is your favorite non-musical thing or things?
Tough for me because my favorite thing in the world, music. It's where it all started for me.
Yeah.
But I've been finding a lot of solace in the kitchen recently.
Nice.
And just trying to find the best ways to make what I love, just working it like it's like a laboratory, like it's an experiment.
And isn't that a little bit your approach to music too?
Oh, very much so. Yeah, they're very hand in hand. But I've just found a lot of ways to do things that I like and that I don't. And it's just been it's a good feeling.
All right.
To create some sort of dish.
Favorite utensil and why?
Love a good pair of tongs.
Yeah.
Gotta have a good pair of tongs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to think what mine would be, but honestly, say like a spatula, whatever.
Right.
But like a full silicone spatula, I just love because it's just like, especially if it's one of the ones that's also kind of cuppy.
Oh, yeah, like a scoop.
It's a spoon.
Yeah.
But it also, you can catch the edges. Because honestly, I like making omelets, and even with, when you first pour it in, you kind of have to do that mix up to
Right.
get it.
Oh, yeah,
If you
yeah.
want
Of
it to be any bit thick,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you have to do that, but get it a little bit stirred up and
Right.
pulled off of the thing. But what's your favorite dish to be making these days?
Sounds like you've had a pretty good breakfast.
I did.
Indeed.
He's serving up lots of good breakfast, musical breakfasts and
Musical breakfast.
non-musical breakfast.
It's my other solo project name. I've
Swiss
enjoyed...
Army musical breakfast. Noah.
Right. I say we trademark it. I don't know. I've been making a lot of different types of fish in a few different types of ways. Recently,
Okay.
I've been doing pan fried. I've been trying to oven roast. I'm going to try to get a grill going and try to get some smoky flavor. You want something like that?
Yeah.
Little salmon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recently, that's been something I've been really getting into.
Yeah, I'm not, as a Midwestern person, I'm not necessarily as fish oriented, but
For sure.
But yeah, when you can find a place that actually can have fresh fish,
Yeah.
Because I honestly, I think most people that say that they don't like fish, don't at me, but I think that they've never really had fresh because,
Yeah.
I think freshness is the key to anything except for wine. No, but I mean, is like the key to a good, like a good balanced meal, or honestly, the effort to make it taste good. If you use good ingredients, fresh ingredients, you end up with like an easier, better tasting product. I guess if that makes sense, because
Absolutely. You do.
Yeah.
Any part of it, from just like your spices, I feel like all the way up.
Right.
The better you can find it.
Yeah. Oh man, fresh herbs.
Fresh herbs.
Oh, God.
That's just sets it right off.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of the things where you have to be patient. I'm always going to be a big fan of like soups, but that's mainly because if I if I make like a smoked chicken on the grill, those bones are perfect for brothing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the whole smoked bird, especially.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like after Thanksgiving, that's always like, please give me the carcass, please, or whatever.
yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Sorry to my vegetarian and vegan friends. I don't mean to. But anyway,
Waste not.
that's right.
Get that carcass. Use that carcass.
Patrick and Noah, thank you for being on the show and telling me about your song Velvet Fangs off of the EP On the Vine, and telling me about your favorite music venues and your favorite non-musical things, and just generally your writing technique and all the things that make Castle Finn the way that they are. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you very much for
Thank you so
having
much
us.
for having us. Yeah. Had a great time. Having a great time.
Thank you for listening to Champagne is Also a Band podcast.
This is Patrick
And Noah of
of
Castle
Castle
Finn,
Finn.
reminding you,
Great music is out there. Go find it where you live. He's our Swiss Army Noah.
That's a wrap.
Champagne is also a band.
You almost have an NPR voice. It's so good.
South Beaker on the inside.
Great music. Great music is out there. Go find it where you live.
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1.